So the conclusion is finally here, where we see what Logan is doing during the worldwide vampire invasion caused by Blade himself. And funnily enough, a story about Wolverine fighting vampires, he may even get his very own vampire love interest. But this is the Hero Informer, and let's get into it. So we immediately pick up in the thick of it, with a little vampire on vampire action, with Wolverine jumping straight into someone ready to cleave them up, and that someone being none other than Maverick, an old Weapon X buddy of his. And why? Well, we move back a couple minutes beforehand and see what happened. We see Wolverine, Maverick, and another vampire woman named Alyssa. As you see, this woman Alyssa here is a vampire, but not just any vampire, she seems to be on some kind of higher echelon than the other two, as she is able to basically mind control Logan, whispering sweet nothings into his ear, getting him to do her bidding. As you see, she is a self-proclaimed queen, looking for a self-proclaimed king. And because of this, she tells Wolverine to fight Maverick to the death. The last man standing wins, which led us to the point where we've seen Logan lunging for Maverick. But moving over where we pick up with Nightguard, Wolverine's new vampire hunting duo, who ironically enough is a vampire herself, we see her running through the cave system. Trying to find something specific that Logan instructed her to find. Killing a couple vampire guards on the way, she blows down the door and finds a central computer hub for this entire vampire compound. And just as she's about to take aim and destroy everything, she is shot and attacked from behind, as more reinforcements of vampire guards came in, ready to finish her off. But of course, being a seasoned vampire hunter herself, she isn't going to go down without a fight. And speaking of a fight, we move over and see the one between Wolverine and Maverick, where we see these two vampires coming head to head, but with Logan obviously having a clear advantage, with not only having an incredible healing factor, but indestructible claws that can cut through almost anything. If this fight goes on too long, Wolverine becomes an absolute favorite during the skirmish. But just then the fighting stops, as Maverick grips his head, because something is off, something is confusing him, as just suddenly his head feels weird. It feels empty and alone. Well, it is simply because Alyssa is no longer using her kind of hypnosis ability to control Maverick, and instead is controlling Wolverine, as she sees as a superior being and combatant, wanting to make him her new king instead. As he repops his claws, getting ready to come in and immediately slashing his gun, as Wolverine is still ready to engage in the battle and put him down for good. But Maverick, now having a clear head, realizing that not only is this all wrong, but he has been used and tricked by Alyssa, as this was her plan all along. Wear Logan down by sending hordes of different types of enemies to fight him day in day out, and then eventually get close enough where she can control him and have a unstoppable one-man army as her future vampire king. But with Logan not only being in a frenzy right now, and being controlled, the last thing on his mind right now is to hear Maverick out and stop fighting. No, he wants the violence and bloodshed, as he rushes in and continues fighting, but not immediately going for the kill anymore as he put his claws up. Instead, he engages in a fist fight with Maverick, and with them both being vampires now, they have a certain level of enhanced durability and strength. But even with Maverick's vampire's abilities, it means absolutely squat to Logan, as instead of backing down or resigning from the pain, no, he relishes in it, licking his lips of the blood with a smile on his face. And if you're in a battle and you see anybody do this, the last thing you want to do is continue fighting them. But he then lunges for Maverick once more, pinning him to the ground, as he continues to not only taunt Maverick, but slashing him more across the chest, drawing blood. But Wolverine stops for a second, and a second is all Maverick needed for him to speak some words out, telling Logan, yeah, I got fooled by her, by Alyssa, just like she is fooling you now. And these words seem to do something to him. For a split second, it clears his mind. It makes him think rationally, as he thinks to himself, what am I doing? Mav's a friend, sort of, and Alyssa, but before he's able to think anymore and get loose from the mind control, Alyssa the vampire comes right up, whispering more and sweet nothings into his ear, furthering her hold on him. As you see, this kind of mind control isn't just, once I put you under, you're there for good. No, he could be influenced out of it, so he needs constant reassurance from Alyssa herself, which is a good thing for Logan, meaning he isn't fully gone. But for right now, he is back under her control, and he gets ready to finally finish the job. As he goes on to pop his claws and tell Maverick, Alyssa here, she is a queen, royalty, and she wants a king, and she deserves the best there is. But before Logan can connect his downward strike, suddenly there is an alarm blaring off in the cave, saying that the command center has been breached. Of course, that is the actions of Nightguard, and because of this, Alyssa and Wolverine get distracted, looking up to see what the sirens were about. And in the heat of the moment, as Logan looks back down to finish the job, he sees his prey, Maverick, is gone. But Alyssa is calling him forward, so he has no choice but to follow. As we cut over and see what Nightguard was doing as she finishes up the rest of the vampire guards. But her troubles aren't over yet, as Wolverine and Alyssa arrive trying to kill her now, as Wolverine immediately lunges for her. But Nightguard, not only being a skilled combatant, but a vampire, meaning enhanced reflexes herself, is able to dodge out of the way in time, which even Alyssa says excellent reflexes. I'm impressed. Not many are able to avoid such an attack from our hairy mutant friend. as Alyssa goes to compliment Nightguard, thinking in her head that the battle is already won and Wolverine is going to make short, quick work of her. But here's where we see something pretty interesting. As you see, Louise turns around and towards Logan with her hand up, and I'm not sure if this is just a gesture of telling him to pause and stop, or if she's doing some kind of technique or an attack, but we do see Logan stop his attack and listen, as she goes on to say, "Logan, I know your mind is not your own, just as I know who and what you are, Alyssa, and as I know what I must do." As it seems just as hearing her voice, Logan temporarily snaps out of Alyssa's mind control, but just as he does, Nightguard tells Logan that she is sorry, but this will hurt, as she plunges her sword and weapon straight into Logan's stomach, as he obviously screams out in pain. But Nightguard then goes to whisper in Logan's ear, telling him to break her spell, heal yourself and return to me. And Alyssa, watching as her prized possession, Wolverine, is being defiled and turned back against her wishes, she gets angry. And no, not just a normal type of angry, but you literally see her face, her very form start to change and morph into something more beast-like, something more vampire-like, as she goes from what she was, a decently looking woman, to a ghoulish beast, lunging straight for Nightguard, telling her that she is going to rip her heart out. And while those two women are fighting in the background, we then cut over and see what's going through Logan's mind, as he is in pain, bleeding, trying to think, trying to concentrate, because the weapon that Nightguard stabbed Logan with was a UV lace sword, which is currently turning his guts into mincemeat, killing him, and he has to get it out of him before it's too late, because not only is he a experienced mutant with abilities, but he is a vampire for better or for worse, as he shares their weaknesses too, including sunlight and UV laced objects. But of course, being Wolverine, he is able to push through and get it out of his system, as he kneels on the ground, clutching himself, finally being able to think freely for once, as Alyssa is out of his head and not mind controlling him anymore. Also, the fact that his healing factor is kicking in and destroying the vampire enzymes from his body, because a big enough wound, the UV blade in his stomach, caused his healing factor to work overtime, finally expending this vampire curse from his vein. But it seems he is not healing as fast as he wants to, as while he is on the ground getting his bearings, Alyssa and Nightguard continue their battle, with Nightguard pinned against the wall. Alyssa then tries to use her tricks on her now, telling her that we need not to be foes. You are welcomed inside of my vampire army, you only need to look into my eyes. But as it turns out, her hypnotic tricks are useless against Nightguard, as she has had experience and trained against this. And using this moment of weakness against Alyssa, she ditches all of her fancy gear and pulls out one of the oldest vampire killing tricks in the book, a wooden stake to the heart, as Nightguard is able to finally stab Alyssa, putting an end to her reign as a supposed vampire queen, as she literally crumbles, turning to ash and dust, while Wolverine, finally up and healed, not a vampire anymore, watches as her body crumbles. But just when they think it is over, they hear another voice behind them, and it is none other than Maverick, finally slipping back after the real battle had finished. And Wolverine, not one to easily forget, immediately lunges for him, pinning him against the wall with his claws out, ready to slice at his neck at any given moment. And now with both of them free and clear of mind, Logan finally asks the big questions here. All of those soldiers, the mercenaries, you threw them all into the meat grinder against Logan being killed and slaughtered, and for what? What did he gain for all of this? Maverick simply answers, for love. Which, I mean, for as excuses go, it's pretty underwhelming, but he further goes on to explain what happened. How Alyssa originally came to him with a job offered, but turned him into a vampire instead. Then she started to fill his head with all kinds of lies. Lies about how she loved him, and how they were going to rule this new vampire world together. And worst of all, he liked it. He didn't even try to fight back. And with Logan still getting ready to finish the job and kill Maverick once and for all, he then has a little bit of internal dialogue, as the comic goes on to say and talk about Logan, how there's a monster that lives inside of him, but also a bleeding heart of compassion too. A voice, constantly fighting for his attention. This time the voice of reason and compassion takes the form of Nightguard, Louise, as she tells Logan to release Maverick, how not only is Alyssa dead, but the blood curse is broken. He isn't a vampire anymore, but just a normal human. And this time, it seems the voice wins, as Logan agrees and puts away his claws, letting Maverick live. Immediately moving over though, we see the duo outside of the cave, getting ready for evacuation and to leave this island. And while he was on the radio talking to his little CIA friend, his friend tells Logan that things got pretty rough out there, but it's looking like your super pals, the Avengers and other superheroes, finally might be turning the tide in the battle. And if you want to know how that went in the main Blood Hunt series, with the Avengers fighting off against Blade and his super vampire team, you can watch the entire series. I'll leave a link down in the description and in the comments. But as he gets off of the phone, he then turns to Nightguard, telling her that now he doesn't have any problem with Maverick or about how he got dragged into any of this blood-sucking mess. But it's just what he said about liking having Alyssa in his head, telling him all of those pretty little lies, how he knew exactly what he meant and took pity on him and related to him because Logan went through the same thing, how deep down he knew it was all wrong, but his more animalistic side, it liked it and went along with it, maybe even hinting at Logan's inner battle about how he isn't the hero that everyone thinks he is. But of course, Nightguard goes to reassure him, telling him that it's just a seductive pull of vampirism, and how it is dark and unrelenting, and never silent. And that is why she must return to her home place now, because the longer she stays in this world, the more difficult it is for her to resist her own vampiric urges. And as I share a little laugh, Nightguard then turns to Logan, telling him that before they part, one last long kiss, as we see them kiss on the beach shore before they have to be separated, seemingly permanently. But of course, with most things in comics, if it's popular enough, you know it's going to be coming back. But for now though, that is the end of this issue and series of Wolverine Blood Hunt. If you enjoyed this series, leave a like and leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Or even if you enjoy this type of content, subscribe to the channel and put notifications on. As always, this is the Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.